So protecting proprietary information from the point of hire. The problem with IT people, IT managers and IT engineers, is that they have access to all of your data. So pretty much they have access to all the intellectual property in a manufacturing firm. That property obviously can be of substantial value, not only to you, but to your competitors. So who you hire and how you hire can be very important. This slide is a graph of the top causes of data and IT security breaches between 2007 and 2014. It's about a year and a half old. What it represents is that 30% of data loss and data breaches were from hacking. But 70% of data loss and security breaches, IT security breaches, were from people. Insider theft, data on the move, accidental exposure, subcontract or third-party employee negligence. So 70% of data breaches weren't the guy that hacks and you see him and he's hacking through your firewall. That really is not the case. 70% comes from other causes that we can prevent or try to protect and put in protections to prevent pretty easily. So let's talk about how you protect your data and your intellectual property. The first thing that we do in our organization is background checks. This is obviously very simple. Nobody gets hired in our organization without a background check. It costs about 20 or 30 bucks. There's a million sites on the internet. You get their social security number. You do the background check. I've been in business for over 22 years. I have seen it all. I have thousands of customers. I've seen the partners that started fighting, split up, company went out of business. I've seen the lead engineer in a manufacturing company, the lead sales guy, team up, steal the intellectual property, run under a confidentiality agreement, and walked off with 20, 30% of the business, of the manufacturer's business. I've seen it all. I'll give you a better one. About 5 years ago, at a manufacturing firm that had a sales guy, lead sales guy, was there for 3 or 4 years. Nice guy, always came to work on time. The sales guy inappropriately acted at a client site toward a female. And the female complained to her boss, and the boss did a Google search on this guy, and he was a registered sex offender. How's that? Now, that was 5 years ago. So, about 5 years ago, people weren't really Googling everybody's name if they were hiring somebody. But if you Googled this guy 5 years ago, there his picture and his mugshot came up. So that's just an example of how important the background check is during the hiring process. And for the small cost of $20 or $30, now that you can go on these sites very inexpensively, it really makes a lot of sense to use that as your first layer of protection before you hire a person, especially if they're going to be managing information technology or managing your data or your intellectual property. So during the IT security hiring process, to protect your data, I like to call it IOB, like IOB-1 Kenobi, Star Wars reference, I don't know. Anyway, of course you're going to do the interview, and we're going to discuss some of my favorite interview questions to try to understand the psyche of the person you're hiring and the personality more than the technical skills. Anybody can do the technical work, but what you really want to do is understand who the person is and their personality. You're going to make an offer in the form of an employee agreement, which is what I like to see. That's what we would do in our company. This is a 3 or 4 page document that stipulates their salary. It was written by our legal team. Okay, so it's got the salary, and it's got the confidentiality, and it's got the basics. It's a contract. We're entering into a contract with every employee. It doesn't matter if you're the secretary, or you're handling IT, or you're in the manufacturing, or you're in the field, or you're in sales. We're entering into a contract with each employee. We're definitely performing the background check. And then we're doing an employee manual and having each employee sign off on an employee manual. And I'm going to skip to this slide right here. This is the table of contents for our employee manual. 70 sections, 70 things that we address, 40-page document. Every single person, every person that's hired has to sign off on this. Now, we're in the business of managing people's data, so obviously data security is very important to me. But I think data security is very important to you and to your manufacturing firm or your manufacturing company. And this is the length that we go to, and you can look at this. This will be available to you online if you want to see our table of contents. I'd be happy to share it with you. or I can email this document to you. And you can see that we really protect ourselves and we cover every little aspect of something that might go wrong with an employee. And then we have the employee sign off in 5 different sections that they acknowledge this document. So now we've really cornered each employee the same way. Okay, we've got a contract with them. We've protected ourselves legally as best as we feel that we could. And then we're going to do the social media trifecta. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn. Nobody gets hired unless we check them out on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Google. And the first thing we want to see is that what they tell us in the interview process matches what's happening in their real life. And you would be surprised what you would find. I met with a young lady once, and she said she was applying for an engineering job in our help desk or call center. And she was all hyped up about getting this job in IT. And when I went on her Facebook page, she was all excited about how she just took a job at a bar and she'd be working Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights, and her shift was from 10 until 2 in the morning. I said, well, this may not be the best person for the job. Is she going to be able to wake up Thursday and Friday morning? So the story that somebody tells you during the interview process can be very, very important to whether or not you can build trust with this person from the point of hire right off the bat. Well, obviously, you should Google everybody's name. And again, the story on LinkedIn, what they tell you about their work history should match what their resume says. And a lot of times, often you'll find that it does not. So the interview process. How did I do it? I've got 60 people in IT in our firm. I've got 0 turnover. We haven't lost a person in 6 years. It's like a cult. It's insane. You come into this organization, nobody leaves. But how did I get it to that point? Well, I built a culture in the organization, and that's how I did it. The one way that I did it is I hire on personality. I don't hire on technical skills. Okay, everybody that comes in for a tech job, of course, has to meet with the technical manager, and they have to know that the guy can click the mouse. But we can really teach anybody how to click a mouse. I could teach anybody how to make a widget, probably, right? But I can't teach personality. And the personality part of our interview process, which we're going to walk through in a moment, is so much more important to me than the technical skills. As a matter of fact, I'll hire somebody that has less technical skills, but the better personality, before I hire the person that has the better technical skills and maybe not the right personality, because I want the personality to fit within the culture of the environment, which is why I ask personality-based interview questions. We created a culture where everyone has an extraordinary high level of trust and respect toward each other. There's no animosity, no finger pointing amongst employees. Everybody helps everybody out. Doesn't this sound like the perfect company to work for? But we really created this. But we created it from the top level down, and I'm going to share some of those experiences with you today. We make our employees feel valuable, and again, we build trust. And when you have trust with your employees and your IT staff, it can go a long way in respect to it being the foundation of your company and how you can grow the company on a stable set of people and infrastructure. So some personality-based interview questions that I ask. Do you have any pets? What was the best vacation you ever took? Do you have any siblings? What was the best memory of you with your siblings? Why would I ask these questions? I'll give you some examples of why. Do you have any siblings? I asked this to a guy once. He said, yeah, I've got a sister. We don't talk. Interview over. Do you have any pets? Why would I ask that question? A lot of people in IT are young. They're straight out of college. They're in their 20s. Young person comes in for an interview. I live alone. I'm single. I have a dog. What does that show me? Responsibility. Tells me that they're taking care of something, that they have to be home at a certain time to feed this animal and care for this animal. What was the best vacation you ever took? Tells me if they're well traveled. The guy that tells me I went on a 3-week safari in Africa with my family and we lived in the woods in tents, that tells me something about that person's personality. And maybe that personality fits well within my organization, and maybe that's the type of personality that I'm looking for. Guy that says, I've never been out of New York State, that tells me something else. And you can make the decision who you think is best for your organization based on some of these questions. Have you lived in the area all your life? That's a security question. Because they'll tell you one thing, but LinkedIn, or Facebook or their resume may say something different. So have you lived in the area all your life? I grew up in Arizona, I moved to Florida, then I moved to New York, then I met a girl, then I moved down to South Carolina, then I came back, then this and then that. Again, security-related question. What motivates you? Find out on the interview process, especially with IT folks, what motivates them. Key indicators of what you need to do as a manager or a boss to keep the self-esteem high for the individual and how you can get the most out of the employee, and you're finding it out on the interview process. The interviewee says, I really want to go to Microsoft training. Okay, great. That's probably going to be more important to that person than getting a raise. That's an investment in the person's education and in your company. Says, I want to go to Cisco school. I want to get network certified. Find out what motivates the employee and have them tell you on the interview process. And you can use those in managing the IT staff to make sure that you're keeping your people happy. What was the last book that you read? Interesting question. People look at me like I'm crazy when I ask this. But I ask it for a reason. It identifies the quality of the type of literature. The person says, I don't really read books. I haven't read a book since high school. Okay. What was the last magazine you read? Hot Rod magazine. Okay, he's into cars. Cool. Networking magazine. I read Microsoft magazine last week. Okay, good. Person says, I just read Shakespeare. Oh, that's a different answer. So the quality of the literature that somebody reads, I think, is very important in understanding who they are as a person and their personality. And you'll be surprised at some of the answers that you get. Can you work weekends? It doesn't matter if you need the person to work weekends or not. It doesn't matter if you ever expect to offer this employee overtime. But you just want to ask the question, can you work weekends? Listen, this is IT. So if you're hiring for IT, the fact is IT is 24/7. So at some point, somebody's going to call you, tell you something is broken, and you're going to have to call the IT guy, and he better damn well be available at 9 o'clock, because if he's not, you're going to have a problem. So can you work weekends in the IT field? Generally, you want to hear, yes, of course I can. But even if you're not hiring for somebody to work weekends or nights, I still think it's important to ask the question. I think that the answer you always want to hear is absolutely, because it shows a commitment to the organization. If you could apply for the perfect job, what would that job be? You would be shocked at some of the answers I got with this question. I had a guy come in and he said, I just took the police test. Okay, so 8 months, if he gets the job, he's out. I had a young lady come in and she said, I'm going to school to be a dental assistant, but you're hiring for an IT position. So a really important question, and I swear if you answer this, 20 or 30% of the answers will absolutely baffle you and will not have nothing to do with the job they're actually applying for. Maybe they're going to say, I really want to be in management. But they're hiring for they're applying for an engineering position, but they say, I really want to be a manager. That's an important thing to know in the interview. This is somebody that you can incentivize. If you have the opportunity for them to advance into management, you can motivate them, because you know that you have that or not. What did you enjoy most and least about your last position? Great question. I've had answers like, I hated my manager. Okay, not everybody gets along. Dig a little deeper. Why? What didn't you like about your manager? And maybe the characteristics of that manager the same as the person he's going to be working under, and you automatically know this is not going to fit in our organization. This is not going to fit the culture of what we're building as a team in respect to team building. What are your hobbies? Hobbies are an important question. Guy says, I like to work on cars. I have a 69 Camaro at home, and I tinker with it every weekend, and I've been building this car for years. A good engineer, an IT engineer, that likes to work on cars is a good troubleshooter. So you may be able to learn things from the hobbies that they're involved with in respect to the position that you may be hiring for. And there's a psychology behind all this stuff and why you should ask for some of these questions. The musician shows creativity. I play in a band. That's interesting. Maybe your IT manager also plays in a band. My hobbies. I'm a diehard Jets fan. Well, this is good to know because the IT manager and the IT director, they're both Jets fans too. Does that mean I want to hire the guy because he's a Jets fan? No. But you have to put the entire package together and say, how well does this person fit with the team that I'm going to assemble to manage our IT infrastructure? If you were interviewing applicants for this position, what top 2 qualities would you look for in a candidate? And without fail, every single time, this is a proven fact, they will name the top 2 qualities of him or herself. Every single time. So the person says trust and loyalty. Fantastic. This is my favorite interview question, and the one that I get the most stares. What is your favorite fish? Why on earth, if you were interviewing for an IT position, would I ask you what your favorite fish was? Mick, what is your favorite fish? Let's interview. Salmon. Salmon, literal. Miss, what is your favorite fish? Flounder. Flounder. Sir, what's your favorite fish? Rockfish. You guys are all literal in this room. Holy cow. The best answer, an immediate response to what is your favorite fish is, what the heck are you talking about? Or what do you mean? That people with that answer are less likely to preconceive the situation and more likely to ask questions if they don't understand something. That completely doesn't make any sense. All 3 of you didn't get the job. Should you get the best response, which never happens, everybody always blurts out the first thing that comes to their mind. Rarely does anybody say, what do you mean? You can say something like, let me rephrase that. If you were a fish, what type of fish would you be? Person says shark. My next question is, what is your favorite tree? If they say oak, interview over. Not for me. In my opinion, the best answer to the question, what is your favorite fish, is Nemo. It's playful, it's funny, and it's a person that thinks outside the box. Nemo gets the job every time. In fact, this question is so great that every time I do my personality interviews, of course there's a CIO or a director of IT or whoever the immediate hiring manager would be. And as soon as I get to this question, if that person answers Nemo, him or her pretty much knows that they're going to get the job. I've hired Nemo 6 times in 6 years. Each one of them is still on staff, no problems. Fits right into our culture.